So there's been more violence in northern Myanmar, with fears renewed religious tensions could spread across the region. A mosque, a Muslim orphanage and a dozen shops have been gutted by fire. A crowd in the town of Lashayo in northeastern Shan state set fire to the area after reports that a Muslim man had set fire to a Buddhist woman. Now, this all follows a series of conflicts between Rakhine Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims in Rakhine state last June. As a result, at least 90,000 people have fled their homes. Myanmar's government has imposed curfews, declared a state of emergency in the region and even deployed troops. We're going to go to Jakarta there and talk to the Asia Program Director of the International Crisis Group. It's Della-Giacoma joining us via Skype. You know, these communities, they've lived together for a long time, and now in the last year it's gotten so bad. Is this just a result of Myanmar's almost growing pains as it moves towards democracy? I don't want to oversimplify it here, but is that where it stems from?
This is a challenging time for Myanmar, and we believe that in part some of the forces that are being unleashed here are due to increased political freedoms that have come as part of the transition to democracy. And it's something we've seen in Indonesia, for example, going back 15 years now. But there are other issues at play here. I think we're seeing weak law enforcement and some poor nation building over the period of this country's history.
And why is that? Why is the government... I mean, the government talks a good game, and it does send in, as we said, it's sent in troops in state of emergency, but these are all things, it's all a bit lopsided, and it's not tackling the real crux of the issue.
Tackling the real issue will be a long-term challenge, but the first thing is to enforce law and enforce the law equally. Anybody conducting violence or threatening violence should be punished, and that's an important signal to send from the central government to the local governments. I think in enforcing that law, the non-lethal use of force is a challenge. The Myanmar police don't have the proper training or equipment, and we've seen in some of the ways they've dealt with protests that there have been deadly consequences. But I think bringing the country into a democratic state where all religions and ethnicities are tolerated is a long-term project.
And it doesn't help, all this violence, it doesn't help Myanmar on the world stage, does it? So much is made of it being brought back into the international community. World leaders have made their visits there. I think Shinzo Abe was there this week. But this sort of thing which the government can't bring under control and almost shows a willingness not to bring it under control, it's just not a good image, is it?
Well, we can worry about Myanmar's image, but I think even in the president's speeches, much more worrying is the transition, the future of the country itself. This is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country. There are Muslims in all large towns throughout the country. If you cannot keep these communities, be they Muslim, Christian, Hindu or Buddhist, living together, then the future of the country is really being challenged here. And I'd worry less about their international image.
It's all happening in the north. Well, most of this violence, that is. Do you worry about a spread throughout the country?
Well, we've seen over the last 12 months, violence that started in northern Rakhine state, which is in the southwest. We've seen that flare twice. We've seen violence against Muslims in Mandalay division in the middle of the country. And we've seen small scattered incidents like this in the north. And so it's something that we have feared that if not properly contained, if the proper signals are not sent, that this violence will not be tolerated by the government, it has the potential to spread all the way to Yangon. There have been those fears so far, but it hasn't materialized, and I think it's something the government is concerned about for its own safety and for the sake of the transition. And so I think that's something that is real, needs to be faced, and that's why there needs to be a real urgent, firm, but not excessive actions to control this violence.
Della-Giacoma from the International Crisis Group in Jakarta, thank you for your time.